There's a handful of things that you're going to want to have to go out and be able to skip docks and fish docks for bass. The real basic things, pretty easy to get going. Spinning rod setup. Use a braided line, 30-pound Suffix 832 in a high vis. And if the bass are aggressive enough, the color of the line and the thickness won't really matter. And what this can help do if you're just kind of getting going, when you pitch this under the docks, if you're getting bites, a lot of times your line will tick. I mean, you'll feel it, but you can actually see it bounce. This line will help you notice that a little bit sooner. The next thing is choosing a hook. Any hook will work, but what works better is choosing a weedless hook. In this case, I'm using the VMC Wacky Weedless in a 3/0. What makes it weedless, it has this little barb cover. And the barb cover, obviously, I mean, if you're pulling this through the docks, the woods, the weeds, any of that stuff, instead of it catching, this helps keep that from getting hung up, which allows you to swim that bait through or be able to pitch it with confidence way under the docks and not have to worry about be getting hung up. You know, any soft plastic can work. This happens to be the Trigger X Hodad. Tubes will work, but my favorite most times and the go-to for me is going to be some kind of a salted worm, stick bait worm. This is Gary Yamamoto 4-inch Senko. It's kind of a pretty standard product all across the country. So this is basically, it's a ring tool. It's a tool you can get at any of the local stores or the online bass stores. With this, you put the rings on the back, and it allows you to put the Senko into it. You slide the ring up, and it pops into the middle of your worm. Now, when you hook everything, normally if I skip docks, there's a couple ways you can do it, but I always will start Wacky Style. Wacky Style is where you pinch the bait in half. You want the ring to be halfway in between. And then what you do is take your hook, and instead of putting the hook through the bait, you actually put the hook into the ring itself, underneath it, like this. And then you lock down the weedless part. Now what this does is now you've got the power, the strength of that plastic ring instead of it being the soft bait. I'll be able to fish this. I can catch multiple fish, 5, 6, 10, 12. You can catch, you know, as many fish until this thing completely falls apart. The worm will fall apart or get broken or eaten, and before the O-ring will fail you. So to be able to make a dock skipping cast, you open the bail, obviously, keep your hand on the line. You point the rod tip down to the water. You want to reel the worm, your bait, up close to the rod tip, kind of as close as you can get it without the hook rolling into the eye. Point the rod tip down close to the water, and then all you would do is just like skipping a stone when you're a kid. You just flick your wrist, you look at where you want the bait to go, and you flip your wrist at it, and the bait here, it'll just kind of skip its way. So as you approach a dock, first thing you kind of want to look for is you obviously want your first cast to be in the best places, where you might have the best shot of it being the larger fish or the more aggressive fish. On a sunny day when it's calm, look for pontoons, look for docks that have the biggest structure to them that are closest to the water. So the very first place that I'm going to want to try and cast is going to be underneath the pontoon. Second to that would probably be the shade just outside of the pontoon. Third is going to be under the dock itself. It's not very shady, but they're going to relate to it like it's home. And then lastly would be around the jet skis, around the dock, and getting some different angles. When you find bass on docks throughout the day, they'll typically recirculate. You can come back to them later and get bass on them again. So this one we had a pretty good bite, never got it. Gonna try and come back to it before we head out. You got docks, you got Senkos, got any kind of weedless hook. Come out all day, throw underneath in the shade, you catch fish.